Welcome to Talking Out Your Glass. I'm Sean Wagoner. Arguably the hottest show on Netflix, the glassblowing competition series Blown Away, once again featuring expert glassmakers from the Corning Museum of Glass, returned for a second season on January 22, 2021. The museum also hosts an exhibit of work made during Season 2, featuring one object from each of the 10 contestants. The exhibit, Blown Away Season 2, opened on the museum's West Bridge the day the show launched. The Corning Museum of Glass, which houses the world's most comprehensive collection of glass, the Library of Record on Glass, and one of the top glassmaking schools in the world, has served as a key consulting partner for the series since its conception. When the first season of Blown Away launched in the summer of 2019, CMoG was invited into the spotlight, bringing to the program its expertise in an art form that much of the world was discovering for the first time through the show. "We are so pleased to again partner with Marble Media to put glass in a global spotlight," said the museum's president and executive director, Carol White, of CMoG's relationship with the Canadian production company behind Blown Away. She continues, "Watching new audiences around the world embrace glassblowing because of this series has been exciting, and we look forward to seeing that enthusiasm grow with the release of the second season." This season introduces a new group of 10 talented glassmakers from around the world as they compete for the title of Best in Glass. Season 2 is once again hosted by Nick Uhas with resident evaluator and glassmaster Catherine Gray. Artist contestants include Andy Koval, Ben Silver, Brad Turner, Kat Burns, Chris Taylor, Elliot Walker, Jason McDonald, Mike Shelbo, Nao Yamamoto, and Tegan Hamilton. In the season finale, the museum also provides the 2 Blown Away finalists with the expert assistance of its hot glass demo team: Eric Meek, Jeff Mack, Helen Tiegler, Catherine Ayers, George Kennard, and Chris Rochelle. A blockbuster ending to a 20-year career at CMoG. Shortly before his retirement from the museum, senior director Rob Cassetti served as the final guest evaluator, helping to select the winner of the competition. "It feels like I've come full circle," said Cassetti, who developed the museum's hot glass programming. "When we first launched our demo at the museum, we called it the Hot Glass Show and put our makers on a stage. We knew glass was inherently exciting, and we wanted to bring that to our visitors. So now for the Blown Away series to capture that magic, bottle that energy, and to share it with the world through Netflix, it's really unbelievable, and it was a joyful honor for me to be a part of it." As part of the prize package, the winner of the show will receive the coveted Blown Away residency at the Corning Museum of Glass. In 2019, the museum hosted Season 1 winner Deborah Cheresco for 3 week-long working sessions. The residency takes place in the museum's amphitheater hot shop, where a live audience can meet the winner and watch the artist make new works. CMoG will host the Season 2 winner as soon as COVID restrictions allow. "We are thrilled that Blown Away returns for a second season, available to Netflix's global audiences to stream on January 22nd, said Matt Hornberg, executive producer and co-CEO of Marble Media. "This show's success is due in part to our valued partnership with the Corning Museum of Glass and their unwavering support and guidance. Their contribution to the grand prize, offering a prestigious residency to the winner, raises the stakes that much more. We are thrilled that the museum is showcasing the exceptional work done by these esteemed glass artists from Season 2. Seeing these pieces on display, representing the true essence of this show, is very rewarding." This special episode of Talking At Your Glass podcast features interviews with Hornberg, Cassetti, and artist contestant Mike Shelbo in this behind-the-scenes look at Blown Away Season 2. Many thanks to the sponsors of this episode of Talking Out Your Glass podcast: the Corning Museum of Glass, His Glassworks Incorporated, Spiral Arts, Sunshine Glassworks Limited, The Hub Consolidated, Bullseye Glass Resource Centers, Bergstrom Mahler Museum of Glass, Wet Dog Glass, Wheaton Conversations, and the Glass Arts Society. Rob Cassetti, thank you so much for joining me on Talking Out Your Glass podcast.
Nice to be here.
Can you tell our listeners what was the Corning Museum of Glass's role in Blown Away 2?
Well, we were thrilled to be invited back to be on the second season of Blown Away. Our role was quite similar to season 1. Prior to season 1, we were asked to participate in a number of different levels. And the idea of a prize package that would include a residency, a blown away residency at the museum was a huge factor. So the winner of Blown Away gets to come to the Corning Museum of Glass, work with our team of glass blowers, and create a body of work over a number of sessions. For season one, Deborah came and did 3 separate sessions in Corning, and it was pretty exciting to see the live audience with the Blown Away residency, and you could just feel the energy and excitement when people got to see the Blown Away winner in season one in Corning working with our team. So number one was the prize package, the residency, and we happily agreed to do that again. The second was that we would provide a team of glass blowers to come assist in the final episode instead of a single assistant for each glassmaker, as is the case in the first 9 episodes. The last episode, 3 assistants come for each of the finalists. So a total of 6 people coming from the Corning Museum of Glass, seasoned, highly skilled glass artists who do demonstrations at our museum every day, but also support guest artists from all over the world. So we're extremely fluent in the idea of how to support glass artists to help them realize their absolute best work that they can make. Finally, we're honored to be asked to have a representative from the Corning Museum of Glass be a guest evaluator. So joining Nick Uhas, who's the host, and Catherine Gray, the resident evaluator, there is a guest evaluator. And so last year it was Eric Meek, who manages our hot glass demonstration programs all over the world. And this year it was me.
Rob, your ambitious projects literally transformed the Corning Museum of Glass, as you were heavily involved with the last 2 expansion projects to add the Innovation Center, that was in 2001, and the Contemporary Art and Design Wing in 2015. In addition to launching the hot glass demonstrations 20 years ago, you also developed all associated hot glass outreach, from the Hot Glass Roadshow to Glass Lab and Glass Barge. Coming from your background, how does it feel to see glassblowing as a featured activity on a very popular Netflix series?
It kind of is a dream come true. I certainly am in the camp, and I'm sure many of your listeners are in the camp of, we totally get the power and potential of glass. We understand the complexity of the artistry and the beauty that making works of art in glass entails. The sheer drama of seeing glassmaking and live glassblowing is something that really did help transform the experience of coming to the Corning Museum of Glass. Our live demonstration program, as you said, goes back 20 years, nearly 20, coming up on 25 years. And from the very start, with the name of the program was the Hot Glass Show. So we understood the theatrical quality about it and how you can be on the edge of your seat watching a piece being made. We learned the power of a live audience and how that really informs the artists at work and how that can be a very exciting and energizing thing. And we went from a small 90 plus seating area with a very modest glassblowing demonstration to now a 500 seat amphitheater with, I would argue probably the most well-equipped hot shop in the world for glassblowing demonstrations in a public context. So when Blown Away came to us and basically said, hey, we want to build a hot shop that can support 10 artists working simultaneously, we're pitching this to what ultimately became Netflix. Oh my goodness, what an amazing thing to see realized. And all of that energy that you feel when you come to Corning or you go into any world-class hot shop really does translate on the screen to Blown Away. It's an amazing thing. We want to tell the world about glass. That's at the heart and soul of what we do in Corning. And we do that in a variety of ways, including glassblowing demonstrations and classes. But the reality of it is that for most people, it's not on their radar screen. And Blown Away has really brought the art of glass making into the public consciousness. And we see visitors come to Corning quite regularly. Over the course of the summer before COVID, nearly every single day, there would be people who would be referencing having seen us on Blown Away. And they'd recognize the glass artists who were working at Corning who were featured in the last episode. It's a game changer. It's a game changer for the art of glass. And I like to think that glass is having its moment right now. artists working in glass, but also glass technology. It's a remarkable moment. It's incredibly satisfying to be associated with it.
What are the details on the upcoming exhibition of Blown Away 2 contestant work?
In the first season, we were lucky enough to be able to have a representative object from each one of the 10 contestants. And it proved to be very, very successful with our visitors. And so this year we're doing the same thing. When Netflix premieres Blown Away, we will simultaneously open an exhibit of objects made during season 2. And it's fun to see. We're a glass museum. We exhibit incredible objects from the spanning over 35 centuries of glass. But when you see visitors go up to the Blown Away display and look at the objects, it's almost like these glass objects are celebrities in and of themselves. People remember it being made and the edge of their seat feeling of watching that object being made during the season. And there's you can see their face light up and it's like, oh my God, there it is. And there's a discussion and energy and excitement about that. Once the season drops, we also can be more explicit about who won and start talking about the upcoming residency.
Well, in terms of that, as you mentioned, the show airs on January 22nd. How are you keeping the results a secret until people have a chance to watch?
Oh my goodness. This is a tough one. The episodes were filmed prior to travel restrictions and quarantine associated with COVID. So this has been a secret kept for nearly a year. I would be so relieved to be able to actually talk about it finally, as our whole team who was associated with it. We have a lot of pride in being part of the last episode, and we're really excited. We're excited for both of the finalists, people that we have great respect for, and we're really looking forward to launching the residency. The museum's open, but the kind of work we want to do with the residency will require a less restrictive environment associated with COVID. So there'll be a little bit of a wait before we can host the winner.
How do you think season 2 compared to season 1? Were the challenges the same?
I've had a lot of experiences over my career at Corning. But what was so interesting being associated with the development and production of this unscripted television show is that they really nailed the format in year 1. And so we were kind of delighted and somewhat surprised that essentially all of the parts and pieces and techniques that were exhibited in season 1 in terms of the way it was filmed and the structure of the competition, et cetera, essentially remain the same. The challenges are different. And of course, the contestants all bring their own perspective. So the human drama is different. I was more in tune this season, I believe, to better understanding how careful they talk about it this way, the casting was in representing a wide diversity of glassmakers. And I think you see it in the work that'll be on screen, but also on display in Corning. True to form, and it's this truly is a contest. You don't know who the finalists are going to be, but I'm not sure you could pick a more dramatic lineup between the two finalists in the second episode. Lots of energy, lots of passion. The criteria for picking the winner involves a lot of different aspects. Can the objects or the installation stand up as a work of art? Making, in my mind, are they leveraging the resources of the hot shop and the team that's at their disposal? Are they maximizing the opportunity? But very explicitly is the personal expression. Is this reflecting the passion of the artist and their interests and their focus at this moment in their career? I found that to be really a beautiful criteria for us to judge the merit of the work. And that idea of the artist themselves coming through in the work is a theme that you'll see throughout the whole episodes, all 10 episodes.
We'll return to Rob Cassetti in just a moment. The Corning Museum of Glass, sponsor of Talking Out Your Glass podcast, invites you to take a glassmaking class at the studio. The studio has always been as much of a community as it is a place. Now, as the familiar way of glassmaking changes, the museum is even more committed to serving their community of artists and makers. They've adapted their spaces, techniques, and equipment to safely serve you. If you want to reconnect with your imagination and creativity, there's no better way to do just that than by taking a class at the Corning Museum of Glass this spring. Learn more at CMoG.org. This episode is sponsored by His Glassworks Incorporated, diamond tools and glass cold working supplies. Suppliers of diamond-plated tools and accessories, including diamond laps, wheels, belts, and adhesives. Expert advice available at hisglassworks.com. This episode of Talking Out Your Glass is sponsored by Spiral Arts, manufacturing exceptional tools and equipment for glassblowers since 1994 and exclusively distributing hand tools for Carlo Dona since 2004. Free UPS ground shipping on all domestic orders for Carlo Dona, as well as pipes and punties. The equipment of choice of the world's best hot glass artists. To find out more, visit spiralarts.com. And now, back to Rob Cassetti. Did the person who won surprise you, or did you have kind of an inkling that that person would be at least in the finals? And I asked this because in season 1, as soon as I heard Janusz was going to be a part of the competition, I thought, oh, well, there's no one that can beat Janusz. But I didn't know Deborah's work yet. So it was really fun seeing the evolution of the show based on my preconceived notions.
Right. I think that holds true for the season as well. You know, there's some people that you really got a sense that, wow, they're holding their own. My takeaway from the season is seeing the blossoming of the two finalists over the course of the 10 episodes. I can't wait to talk more detail about it.
I'll have to call you again after next Friday.
Yeah.
So were you surprised at the reaction and attention Blown Away 1 received?
Oh, my goodness. Well, we've done a number of initiatives. Glass Barge as an example, when we blew glass all across New York State waterways a couple of years ago. And I'd be off in some corner of New York State blowing with the team, a weekend, and I'm back in the office on Monday, and there are people that just saw us and drove to come see us in Corning. And the same thing happened at an almost global scale with Blown Away. People's interest was piqued. They made the decision to come to Corning. They're really interested in learning more about glass and glass blowing. And lo and behold, they're crossing our threshold and coming to the museum. And then, interestingly enough, signing up for classes. Demand for glass blowing classes went up in Corning, but we heard from colleagues all around the world at other open access studios that out of the blue, people are calling up and saying, hey, I want to learn more about this. So I think that's a beautiful testimony to the impact that the show has had and getting more and more people interested in glass and then taking action to come to Corning Museum of Glass or take a glass blowing class, and they want to learn more.
Were you surprised by the controversy? I mean, people got into this show and they were very dedicated to the person they thought should win. And when that person didn't win, they responded on social networks, just blew up with conversations and arguments and discussions. And it was a very passionate reaction to the results of Blown Away 1.
I was surprised by that. I get it. Glass blowing is my favorite sport. And so you become passionate about, your team, so to speak. So I wasn't surprised by the passion. I was surprised by the energy associated with it. People were upset that the person they thought should win didn't win, or enthusiastic that the person that they thought should win did win. We'll see if that happens this year as well. The finalists, like season 1, have very different styles, very different approaches. Who knows? We may see it all happen again.
What was the most rewarding aspect of judging contestants' work on Blown Away 2?
I've participated and watched in many things, hundreds, thousands of times when teams of people are blowing glass, and I'm with them, during that whole time. And boy, did the time go by fast. It was really surprising to me. The clock is running. There's a real sense of time urgency. And each of the contestants had fairly ambitious projects. Number one is, are they going to make it on time? And you're very conscious of that. And then two, and this is really what I was focusing on during the making, and what I found great satisfaction was, our team walks in the door, the three assistants for each of the finalists. And yeah, we know each other professionally, our paths have crossed, but it's game time and it's the hello and let's get started. And they're blowing glass, within minutes of the hello. My satisfaction came in seeing how finalists clicked with our glass blowers. And then my judging criteria was, how much did they leverage the tremendous capabilities of the assistants who just walk in the door to help them realize their work. You can see that in all of the episodes, how well the glass blower utilizes their assistant. When you use your assistants well, it's like 1 + 1 = 3. The way the teams clicked with each other, the gaffer and their assistants, and then how well the gaffer utilized the capabilities of the team in this high pressure moment to realize this thing that's in their head that they just sketched on, on the whiteboard, and then that clock is running, and how are you managing your team to get the most out of limited time.
So when you have, let's say, two pieces that you like very much, what are the things you focus in on that allows you to choose one over the other?
Well, for me, there's always the originality. You can do a lot of things with, obviously, in blown glass, but you can also fall back on certain techniques, certain styles. Does it look like somebody else? Is it really representative of the artist? I'm looking for the expression in the work. I only judged the final episode, or was assisting in the judging of the final episode. The beautiful thing is that because they got to the end, the two finalists really have it down in terms of all of the criteria. Why did they get to the end? Because their work was original. Their work met the challenge. They listened and responded. They took offbeat approaches, the unexpected path. By the time the last episode is being filmed and our team arrives on the scene, the two finalists have been through a lot. They know the drill and they know how to respond to the pressure. So it's not the first game of the season. It's the equivalent of the Super Bowl. They're ready. As a judge, I'm guessing it's a heck of a lot easier judging the last episode than the first one. Because you're presented with such a contrast of the two finalists and their work and their approach. I feel lucky to have been part of it. It was beautiful. I participated in the final episode, but I didn't get to watch every episode. I'll be binge watching with a lot of other people to see all of the episodes. And I'm going to discipline myself and actually watch them sequentially and save the final for the final.
I do wonder, as a judge, does technical prowess carry more weight than concept?
That's a really good question. I always go to concept first. To get to be the finalist, you have to have technical prowess. There's no question about it. You don't have to be the maestro, but you got to keep the work on the pipe. But there has to be a level of craft in the making of it. The world is full of lots of beautifully made objects that don't have a lot of idea behind them. You have to have the chops to have made it. But in the end, it's really the concept. I think this is true in both of the finalist pieces. The concepts, it's a funny thing, the concepts demanded a level of craft that certainly was in evidence in the final two presentations. So they do go hand in hand, but in my mind, it's always idea first.
One of the most interesting aspects I thought about Blown Away 1 was the social issues that were introduced inadvertently by Deborah Cheresco, and the fact that she is a queer woman, hot glass worker, and all of the issues that came up with viewers around identity. Was there a similar aspect to Blown Away 2?
Yes, indeed. Those personal stories and motivators in the artist's work were very much in evidence. It goes back to, I think, the first conversation we had with the producers of Blown Away. It goes back to the inherent drama in the art of glass. And so in our first meeting with the producers, you have to realize that we didn't know what Blown Away would look like. We didn't know what the quality of this production would be. So we're asking some pretty hard questions. Is this going to be some gratuitous fake drama? Think of the worst reality TV show you've ever seen. We're not going to want to be part of that. The producers, Marvel Media, of course, didn't want that either. And they cited other shows that we had a lot of respect for and said, no, our criteria, we want to be in this league of what's called unscripted television. So that was reassuring. And of course, we had technical conversations. They talked about the cameras and the gear they were going to be using. It's like, okay, this is going to be beautiful. Because the other thing is that this is so visual. It's so reliant on the visuals to, really bring you into the moment. And sure enough, Blown Away is just, if nothing else, it is gorgeous. But what really sold us was the statement that you don't need to create drama with glassblowing competition. It is already built in. The craft itself, and then the artists' personalities and their motivators. That formula is all you need to create compelling drama. And they're absolutely right. And certainly that was the case in season 1. And I think it's going to be the case in season 2.
Next, I interviewed Matt Hornberg, executive producer and co-CEO of Marvel Media. Matt, thank you so much for joining me on Talking Out Your Glass podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Tell us about your role in the creation and distribution of Blown Away.
Well, at Marvel Media, I'm one of the co-owners and a co-CEO. And so I oversee the unscripted development and some of the scripted development. So internally, when we're generating ideas, and we tend to generate a lot of the original formats within our company, a lot of the ideas get pitched to me, and then I sort of assess with my co-owner of the company which shows move forward into development and eventually get pitched out. So when Blown Away was pitched to me internally by the group, the idea was generated by an intern at the time, and it was led by our development person, Sean Conley, who felt that we wanted to find something that was sort of in the craft space, a story that maybe hadn't been told before. So when glassblowing was suggested, we thought, well, that sounds really unique. It's interesting. It has layers of danger because there's fire. It's an art form that's been around for a couple thousand years. And yet there's this whole added layer and story about the fragility of glass, and glass is all around us. And so we felt, although from the surface level, I guess that perhaps the art form may sound niche, we felt it had just great potential. So I oversaw the development of it. I was the one that sold it to Netflix and to our Canadian partner for season 1. And then I oversaw the entire production as the executive producer of the show.
And there wasn't anything like it out there, is that correct? I mean,
Certainly.
Nothing glass specific.
Yeah, no, as it relates to being a glass-specific competition show, certainly nothing like it. Netflix had said when we pitched them that they had seen, a show or a couple of pitches that were sort of in this realm. And I don't know if it was glass specifically or other types of art forms, but I guess our overall presentation and our description of how we felt like it would just be great storytelling to follow the artists in a serialized format over the course of a season felt very compelling. And of course, it's a very aesthetically interesting and desirable art form, which I also think tends to lend itself very well for Netflix and their platform. And, Netflix, they look at a lot of their shows through an algorithm sort of viewpoint. I think they use their gut in some instincts, but they use a lot of data to inform their decisions as well. So somehow in our pitch and what we were presenting, it met a lot of the criteria that they felt would be successful, and they were correct, thankfully.
So how and when did Blown Away get picked up by Netflix?
It was picked up in 2018, as I recall. There was a lot of back and forth, so I don't remember the exact date. But then we moved forward into production in the fall, and then it was launched summer of 2019. And it was just really wonderful to see the response as the show was launched for the first time out there in the universe.
What were the numbers, Matt, for the first season of Blown Away? How many people watched the show?
Well, the challenge with working more in the digital realm, working with streamers, is that They tend to be very sensitive about their data, so we don't really know how well it performed from a metrics point of view. Certainly, there are different ways that we gauge how well it was received by a lot of critical attention, a lot of traffic that we can monitor on social media, on different platforms, and then I guess just evidenced by the fact that we were commissioned for a second season certainly showed that that it did very well. But that's also part of it too, and we've noticed this now as Blown Away Season 2 just launched on Friday. We're now seeing an uptick just through social media about people talking about Season 1. In that way, Season 1 may be discovered over time by new audiences, months in and months out and years to come.
We'll return to Matt Hornberg in just a moment. This episode of Talking Out Your Glass is sponsored by Bullseye Glass Company. Do you need more color in your life? At Bullseye Glass Resource Centers, the helpful staff can help you get started in making your own fused glass tableware, art for walls and windows, or colorful cabinet inserts. Find their classes and supplies online or in Portland, Oregon, the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Santa Fe, and New York. For more information, visit bullseyeglass.com. This episode is sponsored by Sunshine Glassworks Limited. Sunshine Glassworks Limited has been serving the needs of stained glass studios, retail stores, and hobbyists since 1979. They stock over 8,000 items, including more than 1,400 colors of glass, in their 11,000 square foot warehouse and showroom in suburban Buffalo, New York. For more information, visit sunshineglass.com. This episode of Talking Out Your Glass is sponsored by the Hub Consolidated. Hub has a 40-year history of building rugged, efficient equipment for glassmakers that lasts forever. Hub's equipment, designed by John Childs, comes with lifetime backup support and can be found in studios around the world. Hub is also a supplier of furnace building supplies, crucibles, combustion systems, and refractory. Childs is a consultant to artists and the industry. For more information, visit hubglass.com. And now, back to Matt Hornberg. So does Netflix have access to the number of people who viewed, or what do they use as a basis for picking up a show for a second season?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly Netflix would have all of the data that they require to make those decisions on whether they feel a show is renewable. Sometimes it's not always about how many people, as much as how deep that audience that has started the show has gone. And what that means, and I often think of streaming services as reading novels. You're doing a deep dive. And that's the whole idea of binging, is sort of reading that book you just can't put down chapter after chapter. And when you look at it that way, they really do see shows in which people complete right to the end as being successful. And, I think that bodes well for our show. I think part of the format allows for that with Blown Away. I mean, that's part of the innovation of our series is a very simple format, only a half-hour show. In fact, even less than 30 minutes per episode. So it's very bingeable in either a long night of television or at least over 2 nights, which makes it just a little bit easier of a path for people to get through all 10 episodes.
I personally couldn't have anyone else in the glass world knowing who won without myself knowing, so I binged it this weekend, and it's very enjoyable.
Well, I'm so happy to hear. Thank you for watching the show. I'm really proud of second season. I think it does so much well of what season 1 did as well, and I really feel it's a celebration of the art form, and I hope audiences and the artists themselves that participated feel that way.
Did Blown Away Season 1 win any industry awards?
On the industry awards side, we're just starting now to enter them. And there's always sort of a bit of a life cycle after a show is launched in which you can then enter them. But no, very proud that it was nominated here in Canada for a couple of awards. We have the Canadian Screen Awards, which is essentially our version of the Emmys, the TV awards in the States. So we were nominated for Best Unscripted Production, which we're very pleased about because we were up against existing format shows. So we're up against Canadian Amazing Race and other pre-existing formats. We were the only original format in that group. So we're very pleased about that. And also our director as well, Mike Beckerton, won Best Direction in an unscripted series as well. So very, very proud of that achievement.
Matt, what would you say are the biggest differences between season 1 and season 2 of Blown Away?
It's interesting, when we were developing season two, we looked back at season one and thought of it really critically of what worked, what didn't work. And we felt, generally speaking, that we felt there were a lot of things about season one we liked very much. So when we looked at producing season two, we thought, all right, what's going to be different? What's going to be exciting and new? And we thought, well, does it really need to be new? It's going to be new in the way there's going to be new artists. And I think that's exciting. They're going to have new stories to tell, new types of art to just really impress us with. And the challenges will be new. And so, all of those types of things, I feel already make the season feel so fresh and exciting and bingeable. In addition to that, we also worked with Netflix. We decided on allowing the show to breathe just a little bit more. So the show per episode is actually a few minutes longer, which allows more time for story with our artists, which is great. Allows more time to see the process and respect the process of glassmaking. And it also allows for more time at the end of the episode to really see the finished bodies of work. We also have expanded the types of people that have come in as guest judges, and that's been really exciting. We see some familiar faces from season one. And we have also opened it up to other people in other domains who also have some sort of connection to glass. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it for the viewer to check that out. But we're quite excited about some of our guest judges that participate, and that certainly has been part of us elevating season two as well.
We need a blooper reel, Matt.
A blooper reel for 1 and 2 would probably be lots of glass breaking. That would be the most obvious place, but it's also so painstaking to feel that glass. I mean, you can just feel it through your entire body as you're watching it as an audience member. You really feel for the artists as they're carrying their pieces, taking them off the punty, putting them in the annealer. It's very precarious art form.
Some of the things that stayed the same between season 1 and season 2 was the return of Nick Uhas as the host, the Corning Museum of Glass's involvement, and the return of the wonderful Catherine Gray. How was Catherine selected as a judge? Because you can tell from the contestants that glass artists have so much respect and reverence for her.
Catherine, she's just such a gem. She's brilliant. She's a delight to work with, and she's so smart. Yeah, it's just been really wonderful collaborating with her through this journey of Blown Away in our franchise. When we were looking for a resident evaluator, of course we were casting a wide net, and it's hard. It's very easy when you're making reality competition shows to sort of rely on the easy wins of like, let's go for archetypes. We wanted an evaluator who was honest. You want honesty, but we also wanted someone who was deeply respected in the community. We wanted our entire show to be respected by the community, and we felt having someone like Catherine, from her body of work, from who she is, but also as her background as an academic, I think has served us really well because she can, from a TV perspective, articulate so succinctly and bring the viewer on a journey to better understand what is it that I'm looking at and think about it, the body of work as a different perspective as well. And that's what you want your audience to grow through that journey. And I think she's a tremendous leader in that journey for us as an audience member, and really just opens all of our eyes and as she critiques.
Have you been surprised by the popularity of the show about glassblowing?
I don't think we could have ever really imagined the success of Blown Away. Making TV shows is a bit of a lightning in a bottle. There's so many different moving parts. But at the end of the day, and certainly after we completed producing it, we delivered it, this is a really special show. But you just don't know if it's actually going to resonate with audiences. That's why it deserved to be on Netflix. It had a very wide reach and found an audience, and I feel kind of brought the art form, if I dare say, sort of a bit into the mainstream and gave it the attention that I think it so rightly deserves. Why was it successful though? I don't know. I think ultimately it's about passion. It's about people that have a great story to tell. It's about a beautiful art form. I've often found too that the artists who are a bit more conceptual in their execution, I mean, yes, they need to be technical, and being really technical is good, but the ones who are very conceptual, I think, tend to really resonate more with the audiences and ultimately, definitely the judges. I think what I've also been a little bit surprised about is the amount of controversy we've created with the show. The show has been well received within the glass blowing community, which I'm forever thankful for and appreciative of. But I think that the general audience, someone's always upset about someone winning or losing. And I think that's great. That means at the end of the day that the passion of the artists has now transcended into the passionate audience member.
Without any spoilers, what was the most exciting or rewarding aspect of Blown Away Season 2?
I think with Blown Away season 2, and I felt it even just after the first few episodes, that I just felt like the energy was still there. All we can really build is the canvas, right? And then the rest is really up to the artists. We feel like we give them all of the pieces, but either the works are going to be great or they're not, and we have no control for that. And as a producer, you like to try and control all of everything, so you know what the outcome is and the desirable outcome. But I think that's definitely been really rewarding, and it's been really exciting working with some of these guest judges that have come in. So yeah, one of them is Bobby Burke from Queer Eye, a great interior designer who I just think has a terrific mind and so many great things to say. I think there's a few different surprises in the show, but ultimately audiences are going to see a lot of what they saw season 1. Great art and great conversation about art as it relates to glass blowing.
I'll be right back with Mike Shelbo in just a moment. This episode of Talking Out Your Glass podcast is sponsored by Wheaton Conversations, a virtual series highlighting select and diverse artists with ties to Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center. Register to attend upcoming conversations and watch past recordings with artists such as Kim Hardy, Paul Stankard, Norwood Viviano, and more. For details, videos, and registration links, visit wheatonarts.org. In business since 1996, Wet Dog Glass delivers unsurpassed value to glass studios like Urban Glass and others around the globe. Offerings include turnkey hot glass studio equipment, studio planning consultation, and technical support. Wet Dog Glass, your studio's best friend. For more information, visit wdg-us.com. This episode of Talking Out Your Glass podcast is sponsored by the Bergstrom Mahler Museum of Glass in Neenah, Wisconsin, presenting Docents Know Glass. This exhibit features stunning glassworks curated from the museum's permanent collection by volunteer museum docents with more than 75 years of experience, now through May 16th. For more information, go to bmmglass.com. And now, we return to the show with Mike Shelbo. Mike Shelbo, thank you so much for joining me on Talking Out Your Glass podcast.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
For anyone who knows you as strictly a flame worker, tell us a bit more about your history, because you started out in glass furnace working in 1998.
Yeah, I sure did. I graduated high school in 1998 and was fortunate enough to be one town over from Palomar Community College in San Marcos, California. And my high school actually let us sign up for the next semester at the community college before we graduated. So I knew what I was doing the second that I was out of school. And after that summer, jumped into glass blowing in the furnace and immediately found torch working right after and just started juggling both.
So tell us a little bit about how torch working and furnace working are alike and different.
Well, torch working and furnace working for me are very much alike, especially since you can use soft glass at the torch without a furnace if you want to. But between torch working borosilicate and furnace working soft glass, you can find a lot of parallels, and one can help you learn a lot about the other. They're different, of course, because they're different coefficients of expansion, but you're going to be able to learn technique and a lot about thermodynamics from understanding both types of glass.
I was so excited to find out that you were one of the contestants for Blown Away Season 2. What inspired you to apply?
When season 1 was being casted, the application got passed around the community, and I actually passed up on it because I wasn't sure if it was going to be something that would be done correctly, do justice to glass and glass art and the artists all the same. But then after seeing season 1 air on Netflix, I was like, holy smokes, I love this show and I would love to be involved in it. I want to try and compete and see what I can do. Yeah, immediately the second that the casting for season 2 was announced, I started working on my application video. The application video wanted us to tell about ourselves, and I didn't want to send in just a regular video of me talking into a selfie camera. I wanted to do a voiceover of myself blowing glass. So I enlisted help from a few friends, and I was lucky enough to be booked for a demonstration at Palomar College by my buddy Jamie Katz, and picked up a lot of good footage there that I used in conjunction with some from my home shop. Had another friend of mine, Harley, who goes by the Canacam on YouTube and Instagram. He is an amazing videographer and editor, and I sent him all the clips that turned into my submission video with the voiceover, and he just made it look really fantastic, edited perfectly, and it caught their eye right away.
Tell us a little bit about what you told the selection committee about why you would be a good candidate. How did you bridge the gap between the fact that you're primarily known as a flame worker to the fact that the show is for blown glass?
Well, when I sent in the video, I just let them know that I had been blowing glass since 1998. I spent a lot of the time after I started in the furnace and worked several part-time jobs. At one point, had rented out a furnace studio with a friend of mine, and ran that for a few months before I had to bow out of the equation there, because running a furnace shop is a big deal and a lot of overhead if anyone's ever tried to do it. But when I went to the idea of sending them a video, I just wanted to tell them that I'd be great for the show, and that as a huge fan of reality competition shows, then I kind of knew, they were looking for people who are going to be good at what the show was about, but also somewhat of a character. And I've always been somewhat of a character. So I felt like I could share that and end up, being a contender.
Who did the selecting? Was it the people from Marble Media?
Yes, Marble Media did the casting. A wonderful casting director named Teo was responsible for casting me, and I believe the entire group of season 2. She was fantastic throughout the whole process and surprised me shortly after getting my application video in.
Well, how long did it take you to find out you were accepted?
It took a little while. Not too long after the deadline submission, I was already talking with them about the details of being on the show and going to film it. My reaction was I freaked out. I was jumping up and down. I was yelling. My kids didn't know what I was screaming about, but then I let them know that I made it, and that I was going to be going off to do the show. It was a really exciting feeling.
You made some incredible and really unique pieces during Blown Away 2. What was your favorite challenge?
My favorite challenge definitely was the cartoon challenge, and a close runner-up was the nature-inspired challenge. During my favorite challenge, we were told to make an original character that could be a cartoon or a comic book or something having to do with a superhero. And when we ended up getting to have free reign over that, that's a very large concept to be able to embrace. And I immediately wanted to make a character that might be out of a comic book or superhero movie. Yeah, I was excited because I used pure color for the figurine, and then the base that he stood on was a cannabis leaf that was made of clear glass, and then a technique of using powdered glass to coat it. And that's how I applied the color to turn the leaf from clear to green. It was really intense to make all the separate parts and get them assembled. Some of them I hot sculpted and applied hot together. The rest I ended up having to use my little bit of time in the cold shop to assemble it and into the finished piece that went into the gallery.
What was the most difficult challenge?
The most difficult challenge for me was challenge number 2. It was the mystery box, and I was so excited because on every show that I love, the cooking shows like MasterChef Australia and a few other ones, they do a mystery box challenge where they just give them a whole bunch of ingredients and say, make something. And when Blown Away had their version of it, we chose our boxes and I revealed a vase and immediately was excited, but then got served up some mystery colors that I had a suspicion were going to be kind of like clown colors, and had to do some color testing. So what you don't see on camera is that I had designed a entirely different vase, used up about half my time trying to do the first design, and then had to trash can that, end up going to my second design, which I had to rush through making the mountain and the tree part of it that was mounted on the side. I made in maybe 5 minutes. It was so little time down to the last 1 second of challenge time available where I put the tree in the annealer and walked away.
We'll return to Mike Shelbo in just a moment. For as little as $5 per month, you can receive year-long rewards while supporting the continued documentation of glass and glass artists via Talking Out Your Glass podcast. Rewards include my super exclusive Patreon episode called 5 on the Side, where I ask your favorite glass artists 5 non-glass related questions. Other rewards include show merchandise and Ask Me Anything episodes, where you get to co-host an episode of Talking Out Your Glass with your favorite artist. If you enjoy and value this online catalog of conversations with the world's best glass artists, please visit patreon.com/Talking Out Your Glass. This episode of Talking Out Your Glass is sponsored by the Glass Art Society. Get ready to travel the world right from your own home with Virtual 2021. Exploring how glass can build community all over the globe, Virtual 2021 reimagines the annual Glass Art Society conference in a digital landscape. Experience working with glass from every angle and enjoy features like an interactive conference platform, live and pre-recorded presentations, digital exhibitions, activities, special events, and more. For more information and to register, visit glassart.org. And now, back to Mike Shelbo. So what is your take on the cast of season 2 and how you fit into that group?
I was curious if I was going to have a like characterization, or if I was going to be, anything besides just another contender. And I think that they wanted me to be the flame worker on the show, and it ended up where that was the title that they put under my name. So I guess I'm the flame worker on the show.
I thought it was interesting. Well, it was fun just to see that you were always in your tie-dye and you were very distinctive. Like you could tell which one was Mike while you were working at the furnace.
I wanted to wear bright colors, and every episode I was able to have very bright colored shirts on, and hoping that would help me stand out, and sure enough it did.
How did you feel about all of the support you got from the flame working community?
I love the flame working community. They're so excited because they wanted to see somebody on the show that was from their neck of the woods, and it's exciting to be there and represent a portion of glass blowing, but like I was attempting to do on the show and will forever do, my whole point of working glass and all the different types of glass is to prove that they're all the same. Glass is glass is glass is glass, and whatever you do is fantastic. Whether you're a borosilicate flame worker, whether you're a borosilicate pipe maker, whether you're a borosilicate vessel maker, you can do any of the different things that you can do with flame working that you can do at the bench. And between soft glass and borosilicate, there shouldn't be such a divide. When you are able to try both, use both, combine both into pieces, you're going to make a better piece. You're going to be able to open up more options to get the type of look out of the art that you want to make. If you're going for it and you want it to be your true art, then it doesn't matter what the media is. It matters what the finished piece is.
Mike, talk about some of the changes between season 1 of Blown Away and season 2. How did the slightly longer format affect things?
The slightly longer format was only for the show where you're watching it on Netflix. You're seeing a half an hour show. Last season, I think it was 22 minutes per episode. So with that extra 8 minutes, they were able to squeeze in tons more of process and critique and just, commentary. I think that it improved vastly with that couple extra minutes per episode.
You talked in a recent interview with Nick Uhas about cold working and the use of UV glues on the competition pieces. Tell us about that.
That's actually part of some of the changes between season 1 and 2. We found out that we arrived to have a much nicer cold working shop. And that part of the process isn't filmed, but is crucial to getting the pieces to the gallery for judging. And what happens is you get everything that you put away in the annealer, and they give you a shift in the cold room where you're allowed to use the diamond saw, diamond grinder, and potentially, if you need it, sandblaster, UV glue, and a handful of other cold working techniques that could get your piece to the finish line, make it completed and put together, ready to go on the pedestal. With a lot of mine, I had to use UV glue, and luckily I have a history knowing how to use it because it was crucial in some of the assembly of my pieces in particular.
I follow you on Instagram, Mike, and I saw that you've got some new work and merch coming up and also some exciting giveaways. Do you want to tell us a little bit about any of that?
I sure do. I have a lot of new work, including series from the show. I will be releasing my own homemade versions of the blown away pieces that you see. I'm going to be definitely getting into the ones that are the fan favorites, including the nature challenge. So stay tuned for a way to get into collecting something that is connected to the show. But then also I have a whole bunch of new wearable merchandise coming up and accessories for your glass collection. I'm going to be doing giveaways both with other collaborators and with different items that I have in development. So I'm looking forward to engaging with all the new followers and fans. Everyone's been amazing so far, and I really just appreciate all the love, such an outpouring of support. It warms my heart. It makes my day. It's really amazing, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you so much for making the show so fun to watch. I'm wondering, what lessons did you take home with you from the Blown Away experience?
My main lesson that I took home was that when applying for it, I should have started booking time in the local furnace shops immediately, because it was actually about 8 years of gap between when I was regularly in the furnace and going on the show. I've been doing it since 1998, but I wasn't able to be working in a part-time furnace shop for quite some time. And when I found out I was accepted, it was really actually tough to squeeze in with all life and everything else that I had booked at the time. So I did about 12 hours, maybe 16 hours in the furnace practice, and then flew off to Hamilton, Canada, where we filmed the season. And it definitely took me a little while. You can actually see me on the show at the point where I say I'm finally comfortable working in this shop, because it's a specific type of soft glass they use in the furnace there. It's a Kugler cullet, and the glory holes with the type of burners they have. You got to get used to the equipment and the way that the glass feels, regardless of what shop you're working in. So everything you see there is me. It's something that I can stand behind and be really proud of, because it'll be on Netflix for all of eternity.
Do you have any words of advice for anyone else out there, flame worker or furnace worker, thinking about applying for Blown Away Season 3?
It's not official yet, but stay tuned until the announcement where they're going to be casting. If they do cast Season 3, then I highly recommend going out for it and practice. But everybody is up as a contender, and everybody should give it a try. If you're willing to be on television and you're willing to put yourself out there for the whole world to see, it was a fantastic experience, and I couldn't say enough good things about it. It was life-changing, and it's sending me in a whole new direction that I needed a brand new spark in my life of inspiration, and here we go. If you are able to apply, do it. Definitely do it, and see what you got. Throw down in the ring, and hopefully you'll come out on top. I'll be supporting you. I'll be watching.
Thanks for tuning in to Talking Out Your Glass. This episode was sponsored by the Corning Museum of Glass, inviting you to take a glassmaking class at the studio. The museum has adapted their spaces, techniques, and equipment to safely serve you. If you want to reconnect with your imagination and creativity, there's no better way to do that than by taking a class at the Corning Museum of Glass this spring. Learn more at CMoG.org. This episode was sponsored by His Glassworks Incorporated, suppliers of diamond-plated tools and accessories, including diamond laps, wheels, belts, and adhesives. Expert advice available at hisglassworks.com. This episode was sponsored by Spiral Arts, manufacturing exceptional tools and equipment for glass blowers since 1994, and exclusively distributing hand tools for Carlo Dona since 2004. Free UPS ground shipping on all domestic orders for Carlo Dona, as well as pipes and punties. The equipment of choice of the world's best hot glass artists. To find out more, visit spiralarts.com. By Sunshine Glassworks Limited, serving the needs of stained glass studios, retail stores, and hobbyists since 1979. They stock over 8,000 items, including more than 1,400 colors of glass in their 11,000 square foot warehouse and showroom in suburban Buffalo, New York. For more information, visit sunshineglass.com. By Hub Consolidated. Hub has a 40-year history of building rugged, efficient equipment for glass makers that lasts forever. Hub's equipment, designed by John Childs, comes with a lifetime backup support and can be found in studios around the world. Hub is also a supplier of furnace building supplies, crucibles, combustion systems, and refractory. Childs is a consultant to artists and industry. Visit hubglass.com to find out more. This episode was sponsored by Bullseye Glass. At Bullseye Glass Resource Centers, the helpful staff can help you get started in making your own fused glass tableware, art for walls and windows, or colorful cabinet inserts. Find their classes and supplies online or in Portland, Oregon, the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Santa Fe, and New York. Find out more at bullseyeglass.com. Support comes from Bergstrom Mahler Museum of Glass in Neenah, Wisconsin, presenting Docents Know Glass. This exhibition features stunning glassworks curated from their permanent collection by volunteer museum docents with more than 75 years of experience, now through May 16th. For more information, visit bmmglass.com. Talking Out Your Glass is sponsored by Wheaton Conversations, a virtual series highlighting select and diverse artists with ties to Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center. Register to attend upcoming conversations and watch past recordings with artists such as Kim Hardy, Paul Stankard, Norwood Viviano, and more. For details, videos, and registration links, visit wheatonarts.org. In business since 1996, Wet Dog Glass delivers unsurpassed value to glass studios like Urban Glass and others around the globe. Offerings include turnkey hot glass studio equipment, studio planning consultation, and technical support. Wet Dog Glass, your studio's best friend. For more information, visit wdg-us.com. Virtual 2021 reimagines the annual Glass Art Society conference in a digital landscape. Experience working with glass from every angle and enjoy features like an interactive conference platform, live and pre-recorded presentations, digital exhibitions, activities, special events, and more. For more information and to register, visit glassart.org. To find out more about Talking Out Your Glass podcast, visit talkingoutyourglass.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, stay glassy.